everybody. Welcome to SigmaCast, episode 3, Drift Lee, psychic medium.
Hi, Bill.
How are ya?
I'm really well. Thank you so much for having me.
No worries, it's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Regarded as one of Melbourne's most reputable readers, Drift Lee is a renowned psychic medium and spiritual mentor with over 15 years' experience in the metaphysical field. Drift's innate gifts stem from her mediumistic lineage, making her a natural-born channel. While she always felt a connectedness to the psychic and spirit world, it wasn't until her early 20s that she experienced a very powerful spiritual awakening one night that rekindled all of her ancestral gifts and magic. She has since been deeply devoted in her development and has dedicated her life to being of service to others and to the spirit world. Drift's work, her readings, will offer you genuine, relevant and accurate insight into your current situation and also provide you with gentle guidance on how to heal the past, be in the present and prepare for the future. Drift's work is of the highest professional standard, channeling for each client with a great deal of empathy, compassion, integrity, and love. Drift is my personal psychic medium. She is Sigma certified, and she has helped me immensely on my spiritual journey. Welcome, Drift.
Thank you so much. That was quite the introduction. And can I just say, I'm exhausted just listening to that.
It's
exhausting, but thank you. That was lovely.
Yeah, it's obviously you and I are very close friends, and you know, I wanted to give you a really good write up.
Thank you. It's a tough. I'm going to have to work really hard to, follow through with that, and I'll do my best.
Wanted to talk to you about your mediumistic lineage. You sounds like you came from a very, very powerful lineage of psychics. Yeah, tell me about it.
Well, it's really interesting because with the spiritual sort of world, and especially anything to do with the mediumship or the psychic side, a lot of it is sort of closeted most of the time. Usually with psychic work or psychic mediums, a lot of it is very ancestral and it is passed down through the lineage. However, I didn't know that it was very much in the family until many years later. Pardon me. So it turns out my uncle was actually, or is, a bit of a medium as well. So he would sort of see spirit and predict a lot of people's death or, their passing. And he'd do this really sort of cool trick, which kind of freaked everyone out. But he would dream of someone in the family, and then the next morning he'd write down the name on a piece of paper and put it into an envelope. And he'd hand it to my mother, and he would say, that person's going to pass away in 3 months.
Jeez.
And then lo and behold, my mother would open the envelope, and that person, surely enough, would have passed. So he always had a connection to spirit. But looking back in the family tree, especially where my family come from, a little Greek island, it was a place of a lot of great healers and mystics. And they were quite witchy. The older women would come to you, and they, would pray over you, and they would heal you and that sort of thing. So within the family, there's definitely a very strong line of magic and mediumship. But sadly, there was, it wasn't really spoken about. It was kind of a very sort of hidden sort of thing.
Kept under the rug.
Yeah, totally. So I didn't really know of my heritage until sort of years later. So I just thought I was the only one in the family, but it turns out, there's a whole bunch of us. So yeah, it's very much in the bloodline.
Yeah, wow. Was this back in Greece, or was this
in Greece? Yeah.
What part of Greece were you from?
So I want to say Sparta.
Sparta.
This is Sparta. So I'm very proud to be a Spartan woman, which is very cool. If you've seen the movie 300, I think you can relate to that. You know, so there's a real power with that anyway.
Yeah.
So there's a real magic in that part of Greece with the seers.
Of course.
And the coffee cup readings and all that sort of thing. So I think it's inherently in our sort of culture throughout the years, and it's sort of in our bloodline. And my father's side comes from Peloponnesos or Elafonisi, which is the island sort of just south of Sparta. And what's interesting, when I was sort of awakening throughout my spiritual development and psychic development many, many years ago, I would often dream of visiting the island and spending time around the ocean there in real sort of power places or power spots. They were like vortexes of energy around that part of the island, and there's a real pull and a real magic there. So I feel very blessed to be from there. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
We're from my dad's side are from Peloponnesos too, but yeah, up in the mountains.
Oh, nice.
Obviously the Peloponnese region's massive.
Yeah.
Big area. but yeah, we're from the mountains. Mountain folk.
Mountain men.
Yeah.
Love it.
Pretty much.
Such a different energy, isn't it, to the ocean?
Oh, yeah.
The mountain, I
definitely.
feel, is like, it's a quieter sort of wisdom. It's more ancient, but it's more about knowledge, whereas the ocean is kind of more healing. It's more psychic, it's more intuitive,
Definitely.
you know, whereas, yeah, they're so different, the energies.
Mm. I was going to ask you, what occurred on that night in your early 20s when you experienced a very powerful spiritual awakening?
Wow, okay, so I love talking about this. It's a very special story. It's something that I hold near and dear to my heart. It's really what sort of sparked and ignited or rekindled, I guess, all of my magic and all of my gifts. So I was a young kid. I was living in London, having what I thought was the most amazing time of my life, having these life experiences, going out, you know, meeting people, partying, having fun, and that was great. And then I got a job working overseas on a little island in Spain, which I'm sure a lot of you may have heard of, called Ibiza. Or Ibiza as people like to pronounce it.
Yeah.
Ibiza, yeah. So someone had told me that the island was really spiritual, and I'd heard it was spiritual, but I didn't really know much about it because I'd never been there. So when I arrived to the island, it was doing 6 months out there, doing a season. And what's really interesting, when I arrived, we got into work for a couple of months, I started thinking about things I'd never really thought about before. And all these questions started popping up in my mind, and they were honestly things I'd never contemplated as a young sort of 20-year-old kid. And I didn't know where they were coming from, these sort of questions that I was sort of asking myself. And they were sort of things like, why are we here? What's our purpose? What's the meaning behind all of this? What is the universe really? And it was coming from a place deep, deep within myself. So I was beginning to sort of step into this place of questioning, you know, and asking and searching and seeking. And then one night, the craziest thing happened. I kid you not. It's like something out of a film. And I get chills when I think about it. And we had this beautiful, like, Spanish, like, you know, cottage type thing. It was next to the ocean. It was beautiful. It was a warm night, balmy night. And I was getting ready to go to sleep upstairs, and I wanted to sleep outside on the rooftop under the stars. It was just heaven, right? It was beautiful.
Sounds like it.
The whales were singing, like, in the ocean. It was like fairy tale.
Wow.
So anyway, I was sort of just getting ready to, you know, drift off to sleep. I had the candles lit. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I felt this very real, very tangible energy. It just swooped in and it enveloped me. And I felt in that moment a love and a peace I cannot explain to you. I'd never felt anything like it.
Wow.
And I heard a voice out loud, like I'm speaking to you now, and it said, welcome home. We are here and you're home. Welcome home.
Wow, that's so powerful.
And I felt so calm and so peaceful. I wasn't frightened. I wasn't scared. I just remember feeling really, really peaceful and really loved. And then I just kind of drifted off to sleep, and then I just went to sleep. And the next day, just like that, the craziest things started happening. It's like I became super sensitive overnight. I always make a reference to, like, you know, Spider-Man?
Yeah.
The Tobey Maguire film, right?
Yeah.
You know when he gets bitten by the spider?
Yeah.
And then he wakes up and all his, like, senses are, like, really heightened.
Yeah.
And his hearing is, like, extra, like, sensitive, and then his vision increases. That's kind of what it was like. So after that night...
It's like a switch turned on.
Totally.
Yeah.
So I went home and I'd go to sleep and I would just hear people, like, whisper my name out loud. Or I'd start to see, like, flashes of light in my peripheral. I'd walk into a bar and, you know, we'd have a few drinks and I'd start talking to, like, a random stranger, and I would just start to know things about them, and I would just start to talk about their life, and I wouldn't really have a recollection of what was being said. It was kind of like I was sort of
just flowing out.
Yeah. So, and the language that I started to use started to change. So that was kind of the night that sparked everything, and then that led me down the path of what I do today, like 20 years later. So, yeah. And look, I didn't look for it. I didn't search for it. It happened to me. Why it did, I don't know. But on some level, I believe that it was sort of meant to be. You know, it was just me coming back to me returning home. It was part of my soul's contract anyway.
That's what it sounds like.
So to speak. So yeah, that was
yeah.
a really cool time and a beautiful story. So
Yeah, it's an amazing story. And to experience Ibiza back 20 years ago, that would have been the shit. You know what I mean? That would have been so different than maybe what it is now.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a bit more superficial now.
Oh, look, totally. And even when I speak to like locals, they talk about Ibiza in the 70s and the 80s. And I feel like that's sort of true of most places, you know, Byron Bay. And I think there was a time when it was just so different. It was untainted, it was untouched, it was less commercialized. But when people think of Ibiza, there's party, there's music, there's creativity, and it has all of those things because it has a spiritual essence about it, which is why so many people gravitate towards the island. So my advice to anyone, if you do go there, really spend time connecting to the energies of the island. You know, there's the part, Esfedra, I don't know if you're familiar with Esfedra, you've heard of Esfedra.
No.
It's this beautiful like rock formation that's sort of just off the main island, and it's connected to Lemuria.
Are you serious?
To Atlantis.
Lemuria.
Yeah, so... And
I know that place.
Yeah, totally. And Nostradamus actually predicted, I know we're getting a bit sidetracked here, but
it's fine.
Many years ago, Nostradamus predicted that when sort of nuclear disaster wipes out the earth, Ibiza will be one of the last remaining places because of its rich prevailing winds and its rich soil.
Oh wow!
So
there's
a lot of power there.
Party Island. We'll stay. We'll stay safe.
Let's move there. I know it's a beautiful place. So yeah.
I haven't even been to Europe yet. I'm keen. All my mates are actually
at all
in Europe right now. Yeah,
oh
I haven't been at all yet.
What, you've never been to Europe?
I haven't been to Europe. I was supposed to go and then COVID.
You're like one of the most European people I know. How can you have not been to Europe? That's insane.
Yeah,
you embody Europe. You would just Europe would love you.
Yeah, I'm waiting. Hopefully soon.
Let's go. We'll go together. Let's go after
I'm
this.
keen.
Let's go after this podcast. We'll go to Ibiza.
Done.
2 flights.
All my mates are there. They're currently in Ibiza right now.
Stop it.
Yeah. But I couldn't make it.
Tell them to go to
doing this instead.
Yeah. Well, hey,
Esfedra.
that's okay. It's meant to be.
Yeah, it'll happen.
It'll happen.
It's definitely on the to-do list. And who knows? Maybe I'll go there and I won't want to come back.
It's got that. It's got that vibe about it, definitely.
What was it like starting up as a psychic medium all those years ago before it was, trendy and all that kind of stuff?
It was one of those things, I think anyone that sort of seeks out to do this kind of work, again, I know it sounds a bit corny, but it's not really something you consciously choose to do. You don't sort of wake up one day and say, oh, I think I want to be a medium. I think I want to be a psychic.
It chose you.
It really does choose you. But I think that's sort of true of most things in life. I think we sort of feel like we have this free will, that we're making all these decisions, but there are so many other influences that surround us. It may be subconscious, it might be spirit guiding you, it might be God, the universe, whatever you want to call it. But when I started to have these experiences as a young sort of 20-year-old, and I started working really hard, and it was hard work. I wanted to be the best that I could be, and I was never complacent, But there was just something inside of me, and I thought, right, I've got this thing here. I need to use it, And I felt very, very drawn to doing readings. I felt like that's what I was meant to do. I was it was kind of like my calling, I guess, or my path, So starting out, it wasn't easy, because when I started out a million years ago, there wasn't really a lot of social media. There wasn't really Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and all of those platforms.
Exactly.
So you kind of really had to rest on your abilities and your gift.
Yeah.
And it was the old school way of, you read for someone and then they tell a friend and then that person tells someone else, it's word of mouth and it's referral, But it's all about the energy as well. If the energy's not right with anything, as you know, nothing will happen. The work won't come, the clients won't come. So I had to be in the right place. It had to be the right time and space for me to start doing the work. And I think for a lot of people that start out doing anything, whether you're a psychic or you want to do your own business, there's always that transitional phase of, do I leave my full-time job? Am I going to make enough money working as a psychic medium? Do I just do it on the side as a side hustle? So transitioning from one to the other it took a long time for me to kind of establish my name and to build my clientele. But when I think what really sort of shifted for me, because there was a while I was really trying to get things off the ground, but when I really made that commitment to myself, and I said to Spirit, and I said, this is me, I'm going to go full, head in with this. I am devoted and dedicated to you and to do this work. That's when everything changed. And that's when all the clients started coming and my work changed. So
amazing.
I think having that intention is very, very powerful.
How long did that transition, how long was that transition? Would you say? What were you doing before that?
So as you know, I think you and I sort of connected through my mum's business.
Yep.
So coming from a line of Greek sort of, upbringing and family, the WOG sort of culture, it's kind of fish and chip shops and chicken shops. So I sort of grew up working in hospitality, food, and it wasn't my dream job, obviously. Being a vegan as well, that was, an extra challenge. But
100%.
So I was kind of working, in the front, food prep and all that kind of thing. And at the time I was kind of smashing out maybe only I was lucky to get a reading every 3 weeks at the time. Wow. And I felt like I was doing everything right. I was my business cards and my website, I'm nothing's happening. And then something just magically shifted. It was really once I got really grounded with myself, and I got into this mindset of, no, this is my path. This is what I'm going to do. I went from doing one reading every 3 to 4 weeks to I was turning people away. I'd open my emails, I'd have 50 emails, I'd have to reply to people. It was insane, so it really just sort of worked out. So anyone, my advice here, if you are listening, if you are starting out and you are going out there alone, it takes time and you've got to be patient and you've got to work.
100%.
And I did work hard. I remember before I started, I used to do free readings for people in the park. I'd invite randoms. I know that sounds a bit weird and creepy, but I'd invite randoms to my house and we'd do a healing practice or a healing exchange. So it wasn't about making money. It never was. And this kind of work, it's never about making money, but it's about being of service. So for me,
experience and connection is
totally.
so important.
Yeah. So I worked for a long time, and I think that was part of the transition.
Yeah.
Building my energy, building what I had to offer, fine-tuning it, finding my place in it all, because there's so many different avenues of, what you can do and where you can go down. So yeah.
Of course. I can relate to you in that way. I work in my dad's business, and it's me, my dad, and my granddad. For 10 years.
Yeah.
And it's been really, really lovely working alongside my old man and my papu. But it feels quite dogmatic. It's not really something that I felt like I wanted to do for the rest of my life. But at the same time, the amount of knowledge and skills that I have learned and ascertained in that 10, 12 years is, you can't put a price on that. We've been developing houses, building houses from scratch, know how to do every single thing in the building industry pretty much by myself if I really wanted to. But yeah, you see tradies and they're 50 years old and they're falling apart, so this is the kind of transition that I've been doing, from becoming a tradie to doing this. And, it's a journey. And what I've noticed is the more that I put in, the more that I consciously put in, the more that I get out. And it feels like it's kind of starting to, get somewhere now, and it's really, really, really cool. But yeah, I still haven't quit my day job.
It's really funny because as you're talking to me, it's everything is such a mirror for everything else. Everything is so reflected.
100%.
And as you're talking to me about the beautiful thing about working with your grandfather and your dad, and me touching on, you don't choose things, they choose you.
Yeah.
So your work with your family, it's very much like the magic and the spiritual work. It's a part of your bloodline. You were born into it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
100%.
And that is something that is so special. And at the time, as a young kid, you might go, oh, this is not what I want to do. This is horrible. But everything has a time and a space. You know what I mean?
100%.
And I say to people, everything is there to serve you.
Everything's a lesson.
Yeah, totally. And everything happens for you, not to you. So,
Exactly.
You've honoured the time that you've had with your dad. And it's I've had my time and space with this. But now I'm making my transition.
And honouring that time.
Yeah, totally. How beautiful. I love that.
Yeah. It's really, We're
getting very insightful here. That's great. That's great.
What was the Arthur Findlay College of Spiritualism and Psychic Sciences like?
Oh, wow. Do you want the truth?
Well,
Or should I sugarcoat it? It's only the truth here, isn't it?
it's only the truth.
It's only the truth.
Yeah.
Look, I loved it. You know, and I'll tell you about my experience just really quick. I mean, for me, I feel like, you know, all mediums are kind of looking for that place to go to kind of, you know, develop and become the best medium that they can be.
Yeah.
And I think Arthur Findlay really takes the reins and is kind of that one sort of place, I think, that is built on the backbone of the English mediums. You know what I mean? So like Gordon Higginson, pardon me, Gordon Higginson was a very, very famous medium, probably one of the best mediums to this day.
Wow.
And he was a real pioneer for mediums. So he was a teacher and a lecturer at Arthur Findlay. So the school itself really is the school. You know, it's like the Rolls Royce of mediumship. It's kind of like they call it the Hogwarts for mediums.
That's all I've been thinking. Like,
Yeah,
this is like a
you know.
Hogwarts.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and it's a beautiful building. There's a lot of history. There's a lot of energy. And England is rich in its mediumship. When you think of spirit communication and talking to dead people, England is a place that it's so rich because they spent so many years sitting in circle and dedicating to spiritual development and to building that energy. But when I went, you know, I met some amazing people from all over the world, and I felt what it gave me. I'll be honest, it was really great and I really enjoyed my time there, but I felt what the school actually does, it forces you to go inward and to discover something within yourself that you haven't discovered quite yet. So it wasn't so much that the teachers gave me anything or give you anything that you take away, but it's more about sitting in the energy of that school and seeing what it is yet that you haven't quite healed within yourself or released or discovered within yourself. So for me, I had a really challenging time there. I sort of went into myself very much and there was stuff that I had to work on within myself, but I came out a lot stronger for it. I did find they're a little bit sort of set in their ways there. You know, for example, they don't burn sage and they don't cleanse or clear or do any of that, which is really interesting. I think when a lot of spiritual people do work, you know, I think cleansing of space with Palo Santo or sage or doing the ritualistic side of something is very important, and I know that is to me. But the whole 10 days I was there was no burning of sage or anything like that, or opening prayer or anything like that. It was really just get in there, sit in the classroom, get up, do your work sort of thing.
Quite regimented?
Yeah, a little bit. But, you know, but it was great. It was great. I enjoyed it.
And how long were you there for?
I think it was about maybe like 15 days or 12 days or something like that.
Like that 2 weeks or something.
Yeah, something like that. And it was all sort of inclusive and you sort of, but it was hard days, like you work and, you know, it's like
jam-packed
8-hour days and, you know, so yeah, but it was good.
So they must churn through a lot of people, like a lot of people will go through there, like, because that's a center for the whole world in a way.
I met people from Japan, from Germany, from America, and a lot of people go back. A lot of people, when they go to Arthur Findlay, they go back, they return back year after year doing more courses. For me, I felt like I had a great experience there. I loved it, but I don't have a desire to go back and study. But my biggest thing as a mentor and as a teacher that I say to all of my students, which is kind of ironic, I contradict myself, is don't turn to the gurus, don't turn to the teachers. Be your own guru, be your own teacher.
There's a lot of power in that.
Yeah, totally. And I think it's like one of my favourite philosophers, Carl Jung.
Yep.
One of my favourite quotes is, who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens.
Yeah.
You know, so I think spiritually people are searching for that thing that's going to awaken and unlock the secrets and the mystery and all of their magic and all of their power.
And it's always just over the fence. It's just around the corner, and they're always,
you know, the right teacher, the right place, the right course, the right whatever. But really, the truth is, everything that we're searching for, it's the one fundamental lesson that we keep having to learn is everything that you are searching for is within yourself.
Exactly. If you externalize it, and you're constant in this constant search, leading you where? It's like a wild goose chase.
Yeah, totally.
But then when you come within, like
the answers are there.
The answers are there, and you truly awaken.
Yeah. So that's something I always try to instill within all of my students. You know, I think a good teacher will hold a space and give the student the tools, but will allow them to find that thing within themselves that they're looking for.
Yeah,
You know,
definitely.
yeah.
Definitely. I think that's a great point that you make. And, you know, there's a lot of people out there that are mentors and teachers and, you know, this and that, and they want you to sign up to their program, or they want you to this and that, and before you know it, you know,
Oh God.
they're asking you for
Don't even
$5
get me
to $2,000,
Don't
10
even get
grand,
me started.
you know.
I just got so triggered all of a sudden about a girlfriend of mine that had this experience 2 days ago.
Yeah.
My girlfriend, she's an amazing practitioner as well. She's a psychic and she's been doing it a long time. She's got a lot of lineage behind her, and she comes from a business background. She was a financial investor. She worked like as a financial broker or something,
Yeah.
and she saw this woman that was doing like business coaching, and she paid $3,500 for like a 2-day thing, and it was literally like just a chat on the phone. And this woman
Like a Zoom call.
Yeah, she didn't even go. She didn't even go into like what my friend's business was. So my friends asked for a refund. So we can talk about that later. But I've got a real thing about these new practitioners that are emerging and charging.
Yeah, there's a
like,
lot of shifty shit going on.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of shifty
dodgy
shit.
people. Anyway.
What is the best psychic reading you've given to date? And can you tell me about it?
Oh, that's a really hard question to ask.
Because it could be confidential. Like, I don't know, but I was just, you know, it's a question to throw it out there.
I'm going to spill the tea, don't worry. There's no secrets.
I can,
no.
Yeah, I can also tell you about the psychic reading that you gave me.
Oh, yeah, we can talk about that.
I'll briefly talk about that now. Yeah, I came to you in like 2017, and I was going through a lot back then. I think I just went through a breakup, and was going to South America, to the Amazon, to do ayahuasca, right? And I thought I'd come and see you beforehand. And you know, I'm sitting down and you're like telling me all these things, and you go, "You're going to Peru." I'm like, how the fuck does she know I'm going to Peru? I just bought the tickets like a couple of weeks ago. Like, how does she know that? Like, there's no way that she could know that. And you're like, I'm getting shivers down my spine. My whole body's tingling. You're going to Peru. You're going to experience something fucking hectic there. And, you know.
I think I actually said ayahuasca to you. It came up in the reading.
Did it?
Yeah, I think I remember saying that. Are you going to do ayahuasca there?
Yeah. Yeah, wow. Well, there you go. Yeah, so I ended up having like this experience of a lifetime in South America. Went to Chile, Bolivia, and Peru. Literally, like 4-wheel drive trek through the Andes Mountains.
Amazing.
You know, really, really connected with the earth. Like, and that's even before I did ayahuasca. Then I went and did ayahuasca, and
just blew the roof off everything.
Blew the roof off everything, and then I came back a changed man.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, wow, Drift knew I was going. That's incredible.
Yeah.
You know, like, she's the real deal. And I just kept telling people, I'm like, there's no way she could have known. Yeah. All that. That's the next level.
It's really funny, like, every reader's very different and everyone's gifts are very different. So not every reader is the same. Not every medium is the same. You know, so when it comes to being psychic, that can mean so many different things. Because some people can read colours, some people can read or see colours around you. Some people can, you know, they're very good at picking out what's physically wrong with you. I do a bit of everything. And I work very differently. But one thing I've always done that comes very natural to me is doing a lot of predictive stuff, right? And it's not that I like seeing the future, but it's something that I just do very involuntarily with clients. You know, a really funny story, really quick. I read for a beautiful couple not long ago, and they're gorgeous, husband and wife. And the guy's like a boxer, and he's like this really cool martial arts dude, but he's got like a real heart of gold anyway. Yeah. And they wanted to book a reading like only 8 months after I saw them. And I said, no, wait a year. Don't come back so quick. And they're like, no, we want to see you. I'm like, okay, fine. So they walk into my house. She's not even through my front door. Before she could even say hello, she was so excited. She walks in and she goes, oh my God, you told me my mother-in-law was going to fall down and break something. And of course, she actually fell down in church. Her mother-in-law, she broke her wrist.
Oh, fuck, in church too.
In church. I said, look, I'm really sorry. It's not the kind of thing I would generally predict, but it happens. So, look, I love getting messages from people, and it happens a lot that text me or email me and they say, what you said happened just as you said it. In terms of a favourite reading, you can't really measure a great reading. Like, in a reading, you might have some really, really great moments, and then you might have moments that, they were kind of okay. But I definitely have readings that have stayed with me for a really, really long time. And generally the real special ones are the ones that I'm connecting with someone that's passed on. you know, to be able to connect with someone who's passed on, whether it's a father or a son or a daughter or an auntie or a grandmother, whatever, but to bring through the validation or the information that really is so personal to that person, you know, is really just such a beautiful thing. So,
Definitely.
yeah, but I definitely have some favourite readings that I've had. In the past, but none come to mind at the moment.
That's all right.
Yeah.
I've got plenty of questions anyway.
Well, good.
As a psychic, what kind of tools are in your toolkit? And do you, for example, do you use tarot cards, Ouija boards, pendulums? What do you use?
That's a good question. So they're exactly what you just said. They're kind of tools.
Tools of the trade.
The tips and tricks. So when I first started out, I sort of used cards, and I liked using cards, and they were sort of a part of how I sort of read for people. Yeah. I've played with pendulums and that sort of thing, but to be honest, when I read now, I don't use anything. So I just sort of sit down and I sort of look at my client, and then I just let the information sort of come. So I don't actually use any tools per se. A lot of readers do, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But again, what I will say with that is that the information always comes from you. From within or around you. So it's kind of like if you're using a tool, the tool is there to kind of trigger the information within you. It's not actually giving you the information. It's like when you look at a card, if you're going to pull an oracle card, once you look at the card, it's going to trigger something, and then you'll start to tell a story based on the different impressions that you get. Yeah. So it's there to trigger the information or to trigger the insight. But yeah, I don't really use tools. Psychometry was something I liked doing for a little while. Psychometry, so tuning into like a personal object.
Oh, wow.
Because, you know, things are energy. Everything has energy and possesses its own energy can retain energy. So people would come for a reading, and I'd hold on to their mobile phone or their watch or their ring or their hair tie or something personal of theirs, and reading people from a photograph is always good as well. So if someone wants to ask about their boyfriend and is he cheating, or which I hate doing, I hate answering those kinds of questions. It's horrible. It's one thing I really don't like answering, because you know they're always going to be cheating. No, just kidding. You know it's always a yes. You don't even need a psychic. You don't even need a psychic.
If the infidelity is already to that level and they're coming to ask a psychic, I think they just want someone to tell them yes.
Yes. Look, the truth is with that kind of stuff, deep down, when it comes to partners, right, there's always that psychic connection between partners anyway. So deep down, I always say to people, in your heart of hearts, you already know. You know. But they always need an outside perspective to say, they want me to say, he's a bum. And no disrespect to the boys, women cheat as well. I'm not having a go at guys. It goes both ways, guys. It goes both ways. I've had men that have been cheated on, so yeah, it's not all their fault. So so reading photographs is always fun as well.
What happens with a mobile phone? Like that's interesting. Holding like a mobile phone and.
Well, if you think about it, in this day and age, if you look around, people are always on their phones. So you hold your phone all the time, right? So
more than you hold someone else's hand or anything. That's literally the extension of yourself.
Exactly. So your phone possesses a lot of your energy because you're giving it so much of your attention on your Facebook and your Instagram. So even though it's an electrical device, it still holds energy.
Of course.
Yeah. You can hold mine later and tell me what you get.
I was holding yours before when I was taking photos of you.
There you go. Oh
dear. So we've heard of clairvoyance. What are the other clairs, and which ones do you possess? You briefly just talked about what was the one you just mentioned?
Psychometry.
Would that?
So that's not a clair.
Oh, it's not a clair. No. Psychometry.
So when
these are all new to me, these words.
So when you are reading for someone, basically, it's an extension of your already existing 5 senses.
Okay.
Right? So the 5 senses that you have would be things like touch, taste, smell, hearing, feeling. They're 5 senses that you possess.
Yeah.
That's why they often call it the 6th sense, right? So when you perceive information, so when I'm reading for someone, I'm using an extension of my already existing 5 senses, but it's on a very psychic, in a very psychic sort of way. Yeah. And the word clair, when we talk about clairvoyance, which is a very common one, right? Everyone
Yeah.
knows clairvoyance, and we hear clairvoyance.
Of course.
What it actually translates to, the word clair is derived from the French word meaning clear. So clear seeing, which
Clear
means I'm
seeing.
seeing clearly, to
Yep.
see clearly. So clairvoyance trans to clear seeing. And then you've got clairsentience. Have you heard of that one?
No, clairsentience.
So clairsentience translates to clear feeling,
Clear feeling.
and that
Okay.
comes here in the gut. It's
Okay,
like, you
yeah.
know when you get a gut feeling
Yeah, yeah.
and you go, oh no, I don't feel good about this.
yeah, yeah.
I don't feel
yeah,
good about
yeah,
her. That's your clairsentience.
Yeah.
It's like when you open up a really big bill, right? And you go, oh no,
This is going to be a
where,
big bill.
where do you feel it? You get that nervousness in your tummy.
100%.
So what's really fascinating here, they call the gut the second brain,
Of course, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because there's certain pathways, like neuro pathways that the brain and the gut share. So there's information, a highway of information
Oh,
that's
yeah, of
being shared
course.
between the two centers. So clairsentience is feeling information. So if I'm reading for someone, it's not that I'll see something or hear it, but I go, I feel like this is going to happen. I feel this is where you're at. So I'm feeling the information, which is really cool.
Yeah.
You've also got clairaudience, which would be, if you had to take a guess, what do you think that would be? Clairaudience.
When I think of clairaudience.
Audio.
Yeah, audio.
So hearing.
Yep.
So
yep.
clairaudience
I was
is
thinking like you know that guy back in the early 2000s.
oh
He'd
gosh.
have like he'd be like he'd talk to the dead, and he'd have like a massive audience, and he'd just go up to someone and like
John Edwards.
John Edwards. That's what I thought. As soon as you said clairaudience, I thought of him.
Okay.
But yeah, clairaudience
So
being
yeah. So yeah, clairaudience is sort of clear hearing. So it's
Yeah.
when you sort of hear information, but it's a little bit hard to explain, but it's kind of like you're hearing it in your head, not in your ears. So I'll give you an example. This happens to everyone, but you know like when you wake up in the morning and you have a song stuck in your head and you don't know where it's come from and you keep singing it over and over again.
yeah.
So that's a form of clairaudience.
It's on loop.
You're actually hearing information.
Yeah, wow.
And then you've got claircognizance.
Claircognizance.
Yeah, which is clear knowing. And that was one that didn't sort of emerge until like the 80s. It came a little bit later.
Yeah.
And that one sort of hovers around your head. And it's really cool, and it basically means clear knowing. So it's not that you heard information or you saw it or you felt it. You just knew it, and it pops in really, really quick. It just enters your mind. It's like a flash of inspiration. So usually when people work or they're psychic, they usually have 2 or 3 different ones that they use.
Yeah.
When I work, I usually am working from 3 centers. And what's really interesting, and not to confuse you, but sometimes you'll get one piece of information, but you've used 3 different centers. So I might, for example, when you went to the Amazon, right?
Yeah.
And I saw that for you, I might have seen it, but I felt it at the same time.
Yeah.
Or I may have heard it and seen it at the same time.
And then you bring back from all those 3 sources,
Yeah.
and then put it together, and then
and you give it to that person.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
Very powerful.
Yeah, so they're the clairs. And then you've got like clairgustance, which is like clear smelling or tasting as well. So you can actually smell a loved one.
Wow.
So if the person that passed away, let's say it was like your nana,
Yeah.
and she loved her lavender perfume, like it was her thing, you might get a whiff of lavender when connecting with her. So sometimes you can actually smell spirit.
Wow.
Yeah. I read of a psychic once, I think she tastes food.
Taste food.
She can taste food that the person liked to eat. Like she'll get a taste of pie in her mouth or something like that, which is really cool. So it's pretty interesting.
Niche.
Very niche.
Yeah.
As a vegan, I don't want that gift because I don't want to be tasting people's like steak and their like
Exactly.
pie or something like that. So I'm glad I don't have that.
Yeah, it's wouldn't be too favourable, that's for sure. What are your thoughts on the new age psychic mediums all over TikTok and Instagram?
Next, no, just kidding.
Well, you know, you're a veteran in this field, and there's so many people just popping up overnight.
Yeah, I was sort of thinking about this earlier today, actually, and I just feel like we've lost so much of the mystique and the mystery surrounding it all. I think back in the day, it's like with a lot of things. I think back in the day, you know, mediums were kind of hidden away. It was like that hidden little gem you had to find. and there was a real integrity about the work. And I feel now on TikTok and Instagram, you've got people that will come on and they'll just do a reading, and it's just sort of all over the place. And I feel with a lot of people it's more for like entertainment value. I think there's a lot of truth in what people do out there, and there are some amazing younger people, because let's face it, the younger generation, they are taking over, right? It's the new line of mediums. It's the new wave of the practitioners. But I feel like it's a bit of a trend, like anything now on social media. It's trendy to do this, it's trendy to do that. So everyone, I feel,
It's jumping on
is a tarot reader. Everyone is a medium. Everyone's a photographer. Everyone's a videographer. Like, you know what I mean? But
like a jack of all trades, master of none.
yeah, totally.
Kind of thing.
Yeah. So it's. I think social media definitely has a positive thing that you can reach a lot of people around the world.
Yeah.
But I think before you go out there as a psychic medium, for me, look, I'm a little bit old school. I feel like you have to do the work first, and you have to revere it. There's a reverence and a respect that you have to have for the work, because the work is very sacred.
Of course.
You know what I mean? I was mentoring someone recently, and she's very, very new to the field. And we sat down and we had a brief chat, and she had no experience in actually reading for anyone. She'd never read for anyone at all. And she focused very much on, I'm going to go out and I'm going to charge this amount for readings, and I'm going to make this amount a week. And
she'd work out all the financials.
She worked out all the financials, and I went, no, let's just pull it back.
Yeah.
Let's get back to what this is really about. So, yeah, but look, maybe I'm just getting older, and I feel like that old grandma now. Oh, when we were young, we didn't do it like this, and you young Instagrammers, you're so entitled and blah, blah, blah. But, but look, everyone's on their journey and everyone's doing their thing. As long as they're coming from a place of good intention and light, and the work is authentic, then
True that.
I don't have a problem with that.
True that. Yeah. Who and what are the archangels?
Oh.
Because, it's an interesting topic.
The archangels.
Yeah.
I love this question. It's so beautiful. So I've really connected a lot with angel energy throughout my life, throughout my journey, throughout my spiritual practice, especially the archangels. And what a beautiful energy to work with. And I think for a lot of people out there, when you think of an angel, you might sort of envision a figure with wings, right?
Yeah.
And
angelic angels.
Angelic angels, yeah. And it's really beautiful.
And white.
The white
gold.
gown to make the gown, and they're, very beautiful. And if you look at energy in general, just consciousness, the angelic realm is just energy, right? And it is a consciousness that exists, but I kind of describe it like a celestial sort of body of energy. So the angelic energy is an overall sort of consciousness. But having said that, you can connect to a singular sort of energy as well. It's a bit of a paradox, but an angel might come to you in the form as sort of a figure with wings, I guess. But you can also connect to a very angelic energy that's just light as well.
Light
it's just
materializing and dematerializing at its own will.
Totally, yeah. It's like moving in and out, and the energy of the angels, or the angelic energy, is a consciousness that vibrates very, very high. It's a very high frequency. Yeah. And most angelic energy hasn't incarnated here on earth. You know what I mean? It's so pure. It's probably...
It can't make it to this,
to this
hellhole. Cesspool.
To this, yeah, I know. It's, oh, God. But really, they're sort of the energy, I sort of describe it, that sort of oversees and governs a lot of the laws when you look at the universe. So they sort of oversee a lot of the governing laws throughout the universe, making sure that everything's sort of running as it's meant to. Yeah. Because when you think about the source or creation or God, the angel energy is kind of the energy that sits sort of right underneath it, I guess, or around it. That's how high it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you look at sort of like a Catholic sort of reference, or a Christian reference, or an Orthodox reference, when you look at the Archangel Michael, that energy is often described as Archangel Michael, the one who sits on the right-hand side of God.
Yeah, he's right up there.
He's right up there. So he's kind of like, he's very cool. I've got a cool story about him, actually.
Yeah.
A very cool story if you want to hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
We got time.
Yeah, we got time.
We got time.
Of course we got time.
So hopefully my cousin won't hear this, but because it involves him. But many years ago when I was doing work with the Archangels, and Archangel Michael, I felt very, very connected to him. And my cousin calls me in a panic, right? And it was late at night, and I wasn't particularly that close with my cousin anyway. You know, he wasn't someone that I was sort of seeing on a regular, but he knew that I was very much into the spiritual world and doing all of my work.
Yeah.
And he calls me in a panic, and he's like, "Drift, I need your help." He's like, "We had some people over for dinner, and my wife and I thought it'd be fun to do like a seance, like with a Ouija board."
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and he's like, "This thing has come into our house, and it is moving things around, and it is violent, and it is not going anywhere." And I was so mad. I was so mad that he had done it. I said, "You know what?"
What the fuck are you doing? No, doing a Ouija board.
Exactly.
Eh?
And I was like, "You know what? You made your bed. You can lie in it." And I hung up. I hung up the
shit.
phone. I know. I was so mad because I was like, firstly, you're playing with things you shouldn't be playing with.
Fucking oath.
Ouija boards are fine if you're a medium and you're in a very controlled space, you know.
And if you can hold that energy.
And you can, you know, yeah. But they have this horrible thing. Anyway, so he messages me back and he's like, "Please, please, we need your help. I'm so desperate." I said, "Fine." And this thing was in their house for like 2 hours. It was not budging. It was breaking stuff. It was very low level sort of energy, right?
Yeah.
So I said, "Fine." So I literally called to Archangel Michael. And all I said was, "Archangel Michael, can you please go to my cousin's house? And can you take this thing out? Can you clear this thing out of the house?" He texts me in 30 seconds. He said, "It's gone."
Wow.
Gone. I just got chills. So he basically, Archangel Michael was the man. He went there, cleared it out. In like
Archangel Michael, can you
on
sort
the
this
hotline.
out?
Yeah, pretty much. So, and he has, and Archangel Michael has his own gifts. He sort of oversees a lot of the wars here on Earth and sort of make sure, he works a lot with the police force, the Navy, anyone that's of service in that sort of way.
He's a very powerful warrior.
Yeah, he is, because he's sort of depicted like with his sword and his shield.
He's done some work for me too.
I bet he has.
He's a fucking legend.
Totally. He's the fucking man. Yeah, he's cool. He's got a beautiful energy. It's very warm. Yeah. So if he's around, you're going to feel like you're getting a bit hot. Like flustered. Yeah, maybe that's why you were flustered earlier.
Yeah, possibly. I've got the heater on as well. Oh,
that's what it is. It's not Archangel Michael, it's the heater.
He ain't got time for me right now. He's too busy running around the world.
Sorting stuff out.
Yeah.
So, but the Archangels, you've got, you know, different angels. You've got Metatron, Gabriel, Uriel. There's a lot of different ones. And they're a beautiful energy, so you can call upon them at any time for help, depending on what you need. But the angels, if you look at angels in general, angels are sort of, as we know, they're great to call upon for blessings, to restore your faith, for healing and for miracles. Because everything in the spirit world has its own energy, so it has its own abilities and gifts. So you really have to call upon the right person. It's like when you call a tradie friend of yours, you want to make sure that you call a painter to do the painting, right?
Yeah, a Sparky for the
electrics. Yeah, so
a plumber for the
old pipes.
Yeah.
So you're not going to call a plumber to do your bloody, you know, line.
Exactly. Yeah, so they've all got their
thing. They've got their niche energy, like as we all do. So, you know, it's like me calling my hairdresser to give me, I don't know, to whiten my teeth. I don't know, whatever. but the angels are the same, and the archangels are the same. So they're very cool.
What are your thoughts on astrology?
The thing about spirituality, right? It falls under such a large umbrella. You know, people think that spiritualism is sort of this thing, you know, but there's so many facets of religion and spirituality and faith, and there's a real science with astrology.
Yeah, it is.
You know what I mean? When you look at astronomy and looking at the stars and reading the stars and so on, you know, which is what the 3 wise men were.
Exactly.
Right? They were astrologers when you look at the Bible.
Yeah.
Astrology's never been my thing. You know, I know people are very interested in having their charts read, you know, based on the time of their birth, seeing what was happening in the sort of celestial bodies and, you know, the planetary alignments and that sort of thing. I think for me it's a real science behind astrology. Yeah. I do like to read about astrology, and I will read my horoscope, and I do resonate a lot with my sun sign and my ascendant and my moon, but I certainly would never use astrology in a reading of mine. Oh, yeah.
But you do follow astrology. And
I do, absolutely, yeah. Like I do have a respect for it.
Cool.
I don't sort of use it in my work.
Yep.
I wouldn't see an astrologer personally, but I think it's great. I think it's great. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I feel like, I've read my back in the day, I used to read my horoscope when I was a kid in the newspaper.
I love that.
And I think that's where it started.
What's
from.
a newspaper? Just kidding. It's okay, I'm probably older than you.
Smartphones.
Smartphones.
Yeah, but yeah, we had the newspaper for, when I was a kid. Kind of like growing up in an analog kind of time.
Yeah.
It was so
The
much
good old
different.
days.
Yeah, the good old
The
days.
good old days, I know.
When being a kid was actually cool and fun, and
I know.
riding around on your bike to go to the milk bar and
Getting dirty.
yeah,
No sanitizer.
exactly.
I know.
Yeah, it was very blessed and fortunate to be able to, live in that time.
Well, you and I, we're not going to disclose our age, obviously, but you and I would have grown up in the same time.
Yeah, we were
Born in the 80s, grew up in the 90s,
yeah.
I guess.
Before the world got all globalized and with the millennium and
God, that's a whole other podcast, isn't it?
oh, fucking oath it is. Fucking oath.
What is your star sign?
Sagittarius.
Sag.
Yeah, I'm a Saggy.
That's nice.
With a Pisces moon.
That explains your sensitivity.
And then fucking get this, a Cancer ascendant.
Gee, you're screwed.
I'm fucked.
You're fucked for life.
Yeah, I'm
that
fucked
explains
for
a
life.
lot.
Yeah,
That explains a lot. Now all
just
the
throw me
pieces
in
are
the
coming
bin.
together.
Yeah, just
You know that thing they use on Instagram? I'm still a piece of garbage.
chill, mate.
Sorry.
So yeah.
It's not a comedy show, folks. It's let's get serious.
Well, the first two podcasts I interviewed astrologers. So
no disrespect.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
pretty funny.
Good.
The first one, she's just like, yeah, you're a Saggy. Yeah, yeah, you're scattered, and it's gonna be hard for you to. Let's see how long this thing goes for. I'm like, oh yeah, and I was like darting my eyes around, and I'm like,
my
oh shit.
God. That's a wrap.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, I don't want to have a dig at astrologers, but to be honest, I feel like astrology is like a science that anyone could do it. Like, you could be an astrologer.
It's like you'd go to uni to learn it kind of thing.
It's like learning
Yeah.
the practicalities or, the mathematics or the science of that sort of thing, which is great,
course,
you know.
yeah.
But I remember, like, I went to Sedona years ago, Arizona, very spiritual place, and I went to this little psychic shop, and they give you a reading, but it was kind of cool. Like, you'd pay for your reading, and that you give them the time of your birth, and they would actually print at the desk your actual birth chart, which was huge.
Wow.
And then you would take your birth chart into this little room where your psychic would sort of give you a reading. But sadly, what I will say with the astrology is that the psychic sort of read things that I already knew about myself. For example, you'd make a really good healer or a photographer.
Like generic kind of
you're
things.
very creative. And that was very much what you read when you do read your star sign in the paper. Sagittarius are known for maybe being optimistic, or they like travel and things like that.
Yeah, pretty much.
Or they're positive people, that kind of thing. So look, it was good, but I wouldn't do it again.
Yeah, fair enough. So the next question I had for you was, who is the legendary Merlin?
Merlin.
Yeah.
I love Merlin so much. I've got a real special story about Merlin as well. So Merlin was obviously a real figure, and I think there's a sort of Hollywood sort of version of him.
He's got a TV show now, huh?
I know, right?
Yeah.
Very famous. What a sellout. No, just kidding. But there is the real sort of Merlin that existed many, many years ago. He went by a different name. I think they also called him Murden.
Oh, Murden.
Murden, he sort of was known for as well. But I actually had an encounter with Merlin myself. And the reason I have a real soft spot for him is when I first started my development many, many years ago, I did a meditation one day, and I'd never, ever experienced a being before. Like, no one had ever come to me in spirit. I'd never seen like a figure or a face or ascended master or an angel.
Yeah.
And at the time, I had this amazing spiritual teacher, and she took me on like this guided meditation one day, and we were doing a lot of healing work, a lot of Reiki on the weekend, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And she took me on this meditation, and I remember all of a sudden in my meditation, as clear as day, I saw a vision of a face and a man, like I'm looking at you now, that came out of nowhere. It was so real. And I saw this I just get chills. I saw this beautiful, like grandfatherly-like face, with this white beard and these piercing blue eyes. He just looked at me, and then I came out of the meditation. I had no idea who it was. I had no idea. I forgot about it. And then he came to me again, and it was Merlin.
Wow.
So Merlin started coming to me and started visiting me. So he was the first sort of being, I guess, or ascended master that actually came to me in meditation. And there's a lot of different things written on Merlin. You know, a lot of people believe that he was sort of an incarnate, or they shared the same lifetimes, was he, Christopher Columbus, and William Shakespeare. And I've always had a connection to William Shakespeare as well. So it's believed that they're sort of all an incarnation of each other. But Merlin was very real. He was a wizard, a very powerful wizard.
Yep.
He works a lot with students that are very faithful and devoted. So if he does come to you and he does rock up, it's because he understands that you are very loyal and faithful to your practice, to your magic, to your spiritual development and dedication. Some of the things that he does help with, you know, so again, he's got his own thing that he does.
Yeah.
He was known as a bit of a shapeshifter.
Oh, that's all.
You know, that's all. Yeah, that's all. I'm just a casual sort of shapeshifter. He works a lot with prophecy.
Yeah.
So prediction stuff. Maybe that's why I'm able to do the things that I do. I don't know. Clairvoyance, psychic ability, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
One thing that I do love about Merlin that I can relate to, he was a very sort of solitary person and a very sort of solitary practitioner. He was most happiest when he was alone.
Introvert
in the woods, in the forest. And I can so relate to that.
I can too.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
So there's a little Merlin. I mean, you're rocking the beard today, so there's a bit of a Merlin sort of vibe there.
Yeah.
But
you told me Merlin's looking over me.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back in 2017.
There you go.
Yeah.
And I saw Merlin just before. Actually, I went to a shop and there was like this Merlin figure before I came here. But also the dragon energy is very close to the Merlin energy as well. So where there is Merlin, there are dragons, and if there is dragon energy, Merlin is close by.
Dragon energy.
Yeah.
What do you think? What's your take on dragons? Do you reckon they were, once upon a time?
So look, I think we have to really look at things as energy.
Okay.
So again, it's not looking at dragons as this big beast with like wings. It's an energy, right? It's a consciousness. It's like your soul. When you leave your physical body, you will be a soul. You will be consciousness. You will be pure energy. And the dragon energy is very much like anything else, like angel energy, Merlin energy, Christ energy. It's just an energy.
Yeah.
You've got Luciferian energy. It's a lot of different energies. So the dragon energy I've worked with, it's very fiery, the way you kind of would imagine it to be.
Oh, yeah.
It's very powerful. It's very physical. And there's different types of dragon energy. You got good energy. You got not so great energy.
Yeah.
You got some naughty dragons as well out there.
Naughty dragons.
So yeah, it
Bad
does.
dragon.
Bad dragon. Yeah.
I had an interesting experience on mushrooms. I did about 5 grams.
Isn't that
Terence
a lot?
McKenna. Yeah, apparently.
God.
So I did a 5 grand dose.
5 grand.
Yeah.
You bought 5 grand.
5 grand
worth
worth
of
of mushrooms, smashed it. So at the peak of that mushroom experience,
You saw dragons.
I closed my eyes and I saw this giant energy dragon. Yeah, it was something like it was just a pure light energy. Closed my eyes. Its face, its tail, kind of like that dragon in Dragon Ball Z. Giant, long, like nuclear energy. Like it was some kind of like, I just felt this massive, just huge energy behind it.
Amazing.
And it was just swirling around.
There you go.
It was just showing me how fucking powerful it is.
And that would be the Merlin energy around as well. So there's no surprise that you experienced the dragon energy. And look, I'll be honest, I'll be the first one to put my hand up and say I didn't believe in a lot of things when I was younger. I sort of grew up in a very Greek Orthodox sort of upbringing, right? And it wasn't until I got onto the spiritual path that I started to really see a lot of shit, So I saw pardon me, I didn't believe in aliens. I didn't believe in star friends. I didn't believe in unicorns. I didn't believe in dragons. I didn't believe in fairies until I experienced and saw all of those things in a very real way. And I wasn't tripping balls. I wasn't drinking. I wasn't out partying. I'd be at home and I would see things materialize, sometimes physically, in my room. So if you look at the speck that we are in the universe, right?
Yeah, exactly.
The Earth, it's impossible to think that we're just it.
Yeah.
When you look at interdimensionally, multidimensional beings and other sort of things, so dragons, they're very real. And one thing they do help you with is protection, right? Because it's that big fiery thing, right, that protects. So, and to transmute stuff as well. So if you're transmuting stuff within yourself, the dragon energy is really great to do that and to manifest stuff. If you want to manifest things, dragons are really cool to call upon. But I'll be honest, when I was doing my Reiki many years ago, my teacher, she was, I kid you not, she was pure dragon.
Wow.
Right. So she was a dragon inside and out. So when she passed the Reiki on to me, right, and she did her Reiki on me and she attuned me, that's when the energy of the dragon started coming really, really strongly, like crazy. I'd be out in the city and someone would walk up to me and just say hello wearing a dragon t-shirt. Like, it was the signs that I was getting was kind of insane. And I did one ritual one night on the beach years and years ago with the dragons. And I kid you not, I had this little dragon statue. The wing just cut in half. It just broke off by itself. It was insane. There was lightning. There was all this like really spooky stuff went down. So I've experienced dragons in a very sort of real way. So, and I've met some actual dragon people. Also, when I say dragons, I mean like really, my grandmother, she's a bit of a dragon. She breathes fire and yeah, she's kind of old school wog, but yeah.
Yeah.
But it's very cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Sorry, what we were talking about? Merlin.
We're talking about Merlin, yeah, and then dragons.
Dragons,
yeah. Obviously, dragons are, it's a pretty cool topic.
Yeah.
The next topic is dark magic real? And what is dark magic, and is it being used on this planet?
Totally. I think if you look at us as human beings, we're kind of, we're sort of enclosed in this human sort of body. But really, we're sort of a fragment of everything, right? The universe, the divine, consciousness, God, the source, creator, whatever you want to call it. So here on Earth, we have experienced firsthand. Everything's just playing out. Everything's just an expression of light and shadow here on Earth, right?
Yeah.
When you perform an act of kindness and you smile at someone or you do something good for someone, that's an expression of God's love. That's an expression of goodness and kindness. It's kind of the true essence of who we are.
100%.
But as human beings, we also have to look at the polarized thing that we are, which is the shadow. And the shadow is a part of who we are. And that can play out and express itself in many different ways, right? And magic is really everything. It's a bit like nature. Nature can be very giving. Yeah. It can sustain life. It can nourish life.
It can take it away.
It can take it away. There can be death and decay and destruction. So magic is a little bit like that. And there is definitely dark magic. And I'll be honest, it's more common than you know. Really, I've read for so many people, thousands of people throughout my life, right? And especially in a lot of Asian cultures, Indian cultures.
Oh, yeah.
Right, where I've had clients come to me and, there's always politics in the family, right? There's always someone mad at someone, I didn't get enough money when this person passed, or that person cheated and slept with my sister and all this sort of stuff. And within the family, people would often put, we call it the evil eye.
The
right?
mati.
The mati. So we, in our own culture, we have that as well.
There's words for it.
Yeah, so it is a very common thing, and people do dark magic. Now, to the extent of what they do it is, a dark magic can be anything from you're looking at someone and sending something like a sort of a spiteful kind of thought their way. That really is a form of dark magic. Because magic is intention, it's energy.
That's right.
So in a way, everything that you're doing is a magical act, right? And then there's dark magic that is very extreme, where people will use dolls and evoke and conjure spirit and darker things to really cause some harm. And I haven't been a personal recipient of dark magic because I've always lived my life do well by others, treat others well. So I guess no one, knock on wood, has had a reason to send any dark magic my way. But I've definitely had clients that have been affected by dark magic.
Yeah.
And I had a reading, actually. I'll tell you something. I had a reading, this beautiful young girl. She came to me and she looked like, just nice, young, presentable girl.
Yeah.
She sat down and I just said straight away, I said, you're really worried about money at the moment. And, to anyone that might go, well, that's a common thing. We're all worried about money. But what I said next was where it got really interesting. And I said, no, you're really, this is something that you've had a really long time. And she's like, yeah. I said, do you feel this is generational and that you're cursed within your family? It just came out. Wow. She just went, yeah. and there was dark magic that was done on her grandfather. Now, sadly, what a lot of people don't know, that dark magic and black magic passes down generationally.
Jesus.
So you might reap the rewards of what your grandfather did to someone else, Joe Blow, 100 years ago.
Wow.
So it's really interesting. Like, I think for me, I've learned a lot about dark magic, not by practicing it myself, but by speaking to other people and their experience of dark magic. I can experience a bit of dark magic, for example, if something breaks in my house. For example, if I'm getting ready for a reading in the morning and something breaks, I know the person coming hasn't got a good intention with me. And I experienced that firsthand with a client many years ago, and it was horrible. So that was a bit of her dark magic just coming my way. So it's very real.
A bit of a, like, letting you know what's to come as well.
Just be careful here.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful.
Your intuition kind of picks up on, either intuition or, they're warning you.
Yeah.
Whichever way you want to see it.
Totally. So my advice as well, if you feel like you are someone that has experienced a bit of dark magic or someone has sent something your way, seek to find a spiritual practitioner, whether it's a medium or someone that specializes in that sort of thing, because they might, you might feel like you need some sort of hex removal or curse removal or something.
One of my mates, he needed one. He was feeling like things just weren't going right for him. Things were just fucking up, and he went and saw this old mystic, this old lady. He's on the other side of town. And he spent about an hour and a half there, and the lady goes, "You've got a hex on you. Someone is jealous. Someone has, they're trying to fuck you up, pretty much." And she sat him down on the table and was doing all these things to him, and she was able to remove that hex, and he could feel it. He could feel that hex being removed out of him, like it was just like this dark energy latching onto his, latching onto his spirit body. And I'm not sure whether she called on Archangel Michael to help getting the fuck out of there, but whatever she did, it worked because he noticed it and everything started to go back to normal for him. And he's like a really high achieving guy. Like he was, and to hear it from him, like then I got thinking. I'm just like, I started talking to my mum about this stuff, and I'm just like, "Hey mum, what do you think about this?" And she's like, "Yeah, this shit's real." They call it the mati in Greek. In Hindu, they've got names for it as well. Mum's Hindu, and it's very real, I believe.
I think in Italian they call it malocchi.
Malocchi.
The malocchi.
Malocchi.
Something like that.
Yeah, it's
sounds
very,
like something else.
It sounds very close to Malacca.
I know. The Malacca. Someone go with the Malacca. I was going to say though, some of the symptoms, like if you're not sure, like some of the symptoms that you might experience if someone has in fact given you the evil eye or said something like that, is that you might be feeling very fatigued, very tired, a lot of headaches, very run down. Your luck might start to change. You might feel like you're having a real string of bad luck. And it takes, you have to also use a lot of good judgment and discern, because sometimes you might just get a headache because you're run down. It's not black magic. But you have to really tune into the energy of it. Why am I getting this headache? Why am I feeling run down? Is it because I'm not eating well? Am I not sleeping enough? Or do I feel it's something that's outside of myself?
Just trying to attack you.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So, again, it's very real, and just be mindful, and always be kind.
Of course. It goes a long way, paying
be
it
kind.
forward.
Oh, look, I've definitely had my moments where I thought, I could hex you right now, right? I've met...
What, during this podcast? Hopefully not, please.
5 minutes. I've already hexed you in this podcast.
I'm fucked.
But then I've got my moments where I think, no, because everything does have a karmic repercussion.
Of course.
So what you send out, you really do get back in one way or another. So, my advice is, just be careful with that sort of thing.
And be good.
Be good.
It'll come
it's
back.
It's easy. Be good. Be kind. Yes.
That karma loop, Are there entities that can attach themselves onto your body and feed off your energy?
Yes. 100%.
Yeah. I think I've experienced that before. Yeah. I had an energy healer remove an unwanted something out of my solar plexus chakra, and I could see it in that room, and it was hiding. And she called on Archangel Michael,
There you go.
and
Of
he's
course.
just like, "Get the fuck out of here!
In
You
those
don't
words.
belong."
In those
Yeah,
words,
pretty
get the
much.
fuck out.
You don't belong here. Come on, it's shoo. He's like kicking him out, sweeping him out. I could feel it, and didn't want to leave.
Yeah.
Didn't want to leave, but it was a low vibration energy that was trapped. It wasn't supposed to be there. It was just a lost soul.
Totally.
And it was attaching itself to my spirit body
Mm.
because it felt good or was easy to be here,
Mm.
and we didn't want to go to the next thing.
Mm.
And yeah, it's real.
You're a little bit like an energy source for that energy, right? And I think as well, when people think of the other side, they sort of think that it's very black and white. There's heaven and then there's hell. But the truth is the other side is made up of so many different planes, and it's very interdimensional. And there's a lot of different beings and energies, and people that have passed on can be a little bit stuck or a little bit in limbo,
Yeah.
So it's not that the energy is necessarily evil per se, but it can be much lower level,
Yeah.
and it can be a very dense, yucky, muddy sort of energy.
That's what it felt
Yeah,
like.
totally.
It didn't feel like it was trying to do me any harm. It felt lost.
Lost, yeah.
It felt lost, and it just wanted to feel safe, but it didn't know
Totally.
where it belonged.
Totally.
Yeah.
And what I'll say to that is that, we often talk about like attracts like and that sort of thing. Those energies, you become susceptible to those energies, and they will latch onto you when you match that energy. So if you were in a place that wasn't great mentally, or if someone, let's say, is smoking a lot of weed, maybe they're a bit depressed, maybe they're going through a hard time.
I was smoking a shitload of weed back then.
Were you?
Oh, yeah.
There you go. Especially drugs like that, weed. It's not that smoking the weed is bad, but you're making yourself a lot more vulnerable when you smoke.
Of course.
Because you're so altered, and your consciousness goes from here, right, to the top of your head to way out like a balloon. So you're saying, hey, I'm open.
Yeah, exactly.
But I've got no idea what's going on because I'm stoned and I'm having a great time.
It's like you've opened a portal.
Yeah, totally.
And it's just like anything can come in.
Yeah. So good example of when something like that can latch on. If you've had a fight with someone, and you're, if you're out with friends, I've had people I know friends that have been out drinking with other mates and they've come home and something's latched onto them there.
Well, that's what spirits are, right? Spirits.
Spirit.
They're called spirits.
Yeah.
And you drink them, and then the spirits can access you.
Totally. So my advice is always be mindful of your energy. But if you're someone that meditates and you're in a high vibration most of the time, right? For example, I've never had an energy latch onto me. And in all the times that I've done a reading, no bad energy has ever come into a reading because the energy can't even penetrate the vicinity, right?
Yeah.
Because the energy is so high.
Your auric field's unfuckwithable. I'm sure.
It's, and it's great. So, but I've definitely had experiences where I've seen things latch onto other people, and it's, got a couple of stories there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, eh? There's a lot more than meets the eye. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
What are your thoughts on the spiritual community in Australia? Is it growing and thriving? And are there dark forces in the mix also?
Yes, totally. I mean, look, I love our community in Australia. I feel we've got a really broad, amazing community. I feel like we are coming out of the shadows now.
Me too.
Lot more.
100%.
I know I spoke before about the old days, it was more hidden, but there's a positive light side that spirituality is becoming more mainstream. Because when something becomes mainstream, it becomes more acceptable.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People are coming out now as witches. They're not being burned at the stake for it. It's very common now to walk into a bookshop and see sage that you can buy.
Or Palo Santo.
You know what I mean? Yeah,
Yeah.
that wasn't the case years ago. You'd have to go to a very specific store. And because it's becoming more hip and trendy, people are dipping their toes into spirituality, So for that, even though it's a bit commercial, but the spiritual community is growing. Because of social media, we are able to connect more easily with spiritual, like-minded people.
Yep.
I've got spiritual friends that I've met on Facebook all over the world, and they're doing incredible things. So for that, I feel, we have a great community. Within that community, though, within the spiritual community, there is a lot of shadow as well.
Yeah.
Because where there is light, there is shadow.
Of course.
So I want people to know, don't think that your spiritual community is all love and light. And being a spiritual person is not all love and light, let me tell you. And I did a little post the other day about spiritual people, whether you're a healer or a psychic or a medium, they understand darkness and know darkness and feel it more than anyone because they've come here to heal it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So they're no stranger to darkness. But within the spiritual community, there is a lot of people posing, I'll say, because also the thing about the dark is that it's very cunning and very smart, and it can mask itself as light.
Of course it
So
can.
a lot of people think that they're actually channeling something of light, and they're not. And sometimes it can be very unconscious, so they don't actually know.
Yeah.
So you might go to someone for a healing, right? Get on their table where you're vulnerable, and they're putting their hands on you, but they're not actually channeling the light.
No.
So you really have to listen to your gut, follow your gut. And within the spiritual community, look, there's a lot of ego as well.
Fucking oath there is.
I've definitely run into it, which is why I'm like Merlin. I have nothing to do with the spiritual community. I stick to my own. I like doing my own thing. I have a lot of spiritual friends, but I don't mix in the spiritual circles.
Me either.
I'm very particular. Like you, I would consider a very spiritual person, but you're someone that I trust and that I feel very connected to, and it's a special relationship.
Same
and
here.
it's just
Same
ours. You know, it's not me going to a circle where there's 15 other different people and I have to be a part of that circle. That's not really my jam. Like, it's not really my thing.
We're more introverted anyway, you know.
Totally.
There's obviously, you know,
Yeah.
there's things for extroverts, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of extroversion in the spiritual community, but I strongly believe in doing the work, and I think a lot of people are trying to bypass that, right? But they're not doing the work on themselves. And like, I started my spiritual journey back in probably 12 years ago, yeah. And I'm constantly learning about myself every day. And, you know, it's taken me all the way to Peru, to the Amazon, to do ayahuasca with the shamans. And I've kind of gone this shamanic route. And it's a very introverted shamanic route. And then holding space for, you know, very intimate circles for friends to be able to, you know, deep dive into their own subconscious and, you know, work out the shit that they got to work out to kind of like live the best life that they can. I'm all about that. I'm not about doing yoga on the beach and doing poses to take for fucking Instagram. I think that's a whole nother kettle of fish. But how deep do you want to go into spirituality? Are you going within, or are you trying to be a poser? And that's the difference.
And I think that's such an important question to raise, what you just said, because you sort of described as when you dive in, right? When you dive into spirituality, it is an ocean that never ends.
Exactly.
There is no limitations to its depth.
Correct.
And one thing that I've learned in all of my teaching and learning and growing is that you are never going to reach that point that you are looking for. Because everything is infinite. It never ends. You're never going to reach that point where you go, hey, I've made it. Here I am. I've learned everything. I've developed everything. I've mastered myself. There's nothing left to learn. I've healed all my shit. No. Because the truth is, there is going to be a point, right, where you're going to feel very vulnerable.
Exactly.
And you're going to be hurting.
Yeah.
And someone's going to be there to rescue you or to hold you or to give you what you need. And then you're going to have that moment. And it's us just going through the seasons of life, the ebbs and flows. There's always going to be a new trauma.
Peaks and troughs.
There's always going to be a new lesson. And you just have to take it as it comes. Because energy never stands still. It's never stagnant. You're always going to be going up and down, here and there, back and forth, within, above, below. You're always moving in and out through energy, through consciousness. And everything keeps a balance on earth, in life, you know, and I think that's something that's really beautiful to take. So for me, when I teach, I still feel like a 20-year-old kid, and I learn so much from my students. And just when you think the universe, they're so bloody cheeky, like just when you've got it all and you're on top, bang, they come and knock you under your feet. It's like, we're going to fuck you up now. And there's a whole new lesson to learn, and you have to go through this.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
So you just have to ride that wave and say, I'm here today, and this is where I'm at.
Yeah.
This is where my consciousness is at.
Yeah.
This is what I'm experiencing. This is what I'm perceiving.
Yeah.
And I'll say to people, if you're in a good place, enjoy it.
Yeah.
Savor it. Be grateful, because
You don't know when
it
it's going
won't
to
last
disappear.
very long. Like
Nah.
that's the nature of life. You know, so it's interesting, but Yeah.
But there's lessons in that to learn.
Yeah.
And then you up your spiritual growth.
Mm.
And that's what it's, oh my God, the camera's just shit itself again.
Maybe that's spirit. It's like
Spirit's
moving.
fucking around with
I
us
know.
today.
Moving stuff around, controlling all the electrical devices.
Oh, the battery died on the thing. That's hilarious.
Oh, look, maybe it's not a good angle anyway. Maybe we're not meant to.
Yeah, that angle's just...
Look, you're lucky we've got 2 other cameras.
Yeah, I know.
And the thing
we've
about
got 2 others.
The thing about a podcast, they don't need to see us anyway.
True.
They don't want to see all of this, trust me. Let's just have them hear us. In fact, kill all the cameras. No more cameras.
I keep thinking, is my beard straight?
That's all you've been thinking about this whole time.
Totally.
It's actually a bit crooked.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? It goes to one side. I can't get it perfect.
Why? All right.
Maybe one day, when the planets align and everything goes my way for one day, and then I'll really savor and love that day.
Maybe this is like a karmic lesson.
100%.
Your beard not going the way it's meant to go.
No, it is 100%. It's a karmic lesson. So the final thing before we wrap this up.
Oh, how sad.
I know, right? We're having so much fun.
I know.
We'll definitely do this again.
We will. Maybe not.
If you want, yeah. Can you do a collective reading for Melbourne, Victoria?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah.
For sure. I did notice you got some cards there.
Yeah.
I know I don't really use them, but for a collective reading, should we have a play?
These are my astrologer Debs. She made these herself.
Wow,
They're
beautiful.
her ayahuasca cards.
Amazing, very fitting.
It's called The Vine of the Mystic.
How beautiful.
Yeah.
So we're going to do a collective reading, but just for Victoria or for Australians in general?
Oh, maybe Australians.
What do you think?
I reckon if you
I
want.
know we're feeling like a bit patriotic, like just Victorians.
Yeah.
But I don't know, do we want to discriminate?
That's true. Maybe we do Australia. If you
Oh,
feel
these are
comfortable
very
with that.
cool.
Yeah, she hand drew each one.
Oh, wow. These feel very new. You guys can hear the cards, wait.
Yeah. They're brand new.
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just tune into Australia.
Yeah.
Australia. Okay.
Australia.
And I'm going to just think about us as a collective. So it's not about a personal reading. It's about us as a collective sort of energy and seeing what the second half of the year is about.
Yeah.
Where we're sort of headed.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I will say, even before we look at the cards with the collective at the minute, everyone's feeling very uneasy and very unsettled, right? And what I will say, because everything is sort of crumbling at the moment, a lot of you guys aren't feeling like there's a lot of stability within your life. It's almost like when you take the foundation under a house and everything's a bit wobbly and everything's sort of shaking, you might feel like you're needing more stability, whether it's in your income, your home, your family, feeling an uneasiness within your life, like you haven't got a hold on everything. And what I will say, this is a good thing, and this is sort of essential on a collective level. This is what's meant to happen, and it's all part of us sort of moving forward spiritually, evolving and preparing for the next sort of thing. How beautiful. So, and what's coming up in the cards, which is really beautiful, is saying, let it go. Let go. It's the one thing you need to do that you're holding on to. So as a collective, we all really need to let go, because there's so much fear that everyone's feeling right now about, am I going to be okay? What's happening with my job? You know, there's no stability. Am I able to look after my family? And the thing about that, the paradigm and the constructs, we're sort of moving into a new age, into a new era. So if you're not spiritually inclined, or you're not that maybe a spiritual person, you're going to feel it in a very human 3D sort of way. And that's bringing up a lot of fear and anxiety. You might feel like there's no stability in your job, your contract's coming to an end. There's a lot of uncertainty about the future. So what's coming up in the cards that's mirroring a lot of that is let go, and it's time to go within. It's time to go inward. Stop searching and seeking outside of yourself. What is it that you want to create next? What is it that you want to do? It's time to tap into your inner passion, becoming more aligned with the soul, so inner knowing. So whether you like it or not, whether you're a spiritual person or not, we are in this together. We are a collective. That's what it's about. We are moving forward as one. You know, it doesn't matter what our differences are. what our backgrounds are. That does not matter. And this is such a beautiful message coming through now for the collective. We are weaving this because the weave card is coming up. We are weaving this together. It's a story that we are weaving. It is all interwoven. And there's a mirror here. So we are all a mirror of each other. As I sat here with Bill, everything that I do as a collective, and I get chills, affects my beautiful brother, and everything that he does affects me. So we have to be mindful of our choices as we move forward here. We are holding each other. We're holding space for each other. It's a time to quieten down. It's a time to go inward. The shush is coming up. I love that shush. Shut up. How beautiful. So, my darlings, if you are listening to this, the message here today is it's okay to let go. Let go of what's familiar to you. Let go of what you know. Let go of your fear. Trust in yourself. Trust in the power of God. Trust in miracle. Reach deep within yourself. Okay, follow your dreams, follow your passions. But let's remember that we're weaving this story together, that we're holding space for each other. I'm going to leave you with that.
It's amazing.
That was beautiful.
Thank you so much.
That's okay. That just
I've
came.
I've had so much fun today.
It's been awesome.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this.
Same here.
Can't wait to come back.
We'll make it happen.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. It's been great.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
Anytime.